Okay, folks, a couple weeks ago we had a lesson talking about what to look for in summer tradings. We talked for long term traders, slow accumulations, shorter term trades, momentum trades based on candle pattern or chart pattern breakouts and earnings. This week we're going to start our earnings season with a pretty good week of earnings. Now, there may be other stocks reporting earnings than what I'm going to talk about on this video, but these are the ones that I'm going to be watching. I'm going to start out and I'm just going to go in order day by day through the week and describe for you a little bit of how I will be watching them. We're going to start off with tomorrow, July 14th. Pre-market Citigroup earnings. Citigroup's going to report. It could create some volatility. If you look at Citigroup's chart, it's been beaten down. If they beat on earnings and we don't go gap up too much, I think we'd have a good swing entry. If we do gap up, we may still have volatility for a shorter term trade to find in Citigroup. Now, from that point, towards the end of the day, you probably want to be watching who has pre-market earnings the following day. You guys, if you're using our focus group as I intended you to and really researching stocks and knowing a lot about them, you probably are prepared for Goldman Sachs pre-market Tuesday. That's going to be July 15th. Now, for the focus group, I'm not going to make a risky alert for an earnings trade. But if you were wanting to make an earnings trade on Goldman Sachs, you'd probably want to make it Monday before their earnings Tuesday pre-market. Otherwise, Goldman Sachs is still well enough off of its highs that a good earnings and even its recent highs, a good earnings could give us a good swing. It's okay to wait for the earnings. It could also give us some good volatility. It could even give good volatility tomorrow if you don't want to make the earnings trade, to maybe make a day trade and get in and out just tomorrow. Some people might even venture to think that if Citigroup does really well, Goldman Sachs might do really well, and therefore might want to justify a trade based on that, and you'll have Citigroup's earnings tomorrow morning before market opens. The next pre-market for Tuesday, so one, if you're going to make a bet on it, you'd want to make it Monday, JP Morgan, another financial. You're going to find this week's pretty heavy with the financials. Again, well off its high. It did miss last quarter. Remember, their CEO's got the deal with cancer, and he's not going to leave, but he's going to miss some time. I don't know how much that'll play into earnings, but I'm interested in seeing overall just how the financial stocks earnings go. And I'm not playing the financial stocks before their earnings. I want to trade them after their earnings. And if they gap up, you watch more times than not, they come down and get a decent little fill on that gap and make a run from there. And finally, the Tuesday pre-market earning that you'd want to watch Monday if you're going to make a earnings bet for would be Johnson & Johnson's going to report pre-market on the 15th. So any earnings bet, you're going to probably want to make that Monday. Johnson & Johnson, I'm got to be honest, I'm surprised it's up where it's up at, but it's done very, very well. Last summer I traded Johnson & Johnson a lot, and I traded it after the summer earnings. I actually bought the day it reported earnings. It gapped up, it filled the gap. I bought the gap fill, and I did swing trades on it for a few weeks and did very, very well with it. Now, after hours on Tuesday, so we're still on 7:15, but now we're going to go to, your trading day happened Tuesday based on you had your pre-market earnings. Now we're after hours. How about CSX? Transportation logistics company. They do the trains, the blue and yellow ones that can move a ton of stuff on like 1 gallon of fuel for 300 miles, whatever the commercial says. CSX has after hours earnings. Intel, INTC, has after hour earnings. Now, I'm not interested in an Intel options trade for the earnings, but it's at a good price where I like to watch them after hours, and I will be watching Yahoo and Intel after hours for a potential trade on just common shares, even if, albeit just a scalp trade. And that brings me to the other one, Yahoo, that's going to have after hours earnings on Tuesday, July 15th. Now we're going to move over to, if you were planning for an earnings trade for Wednesday, July 16th, pre-market, then you would want to make your trade Tuesday. We're going to go to another bank. PNC is going to report Wednesday pre-market. And also another financial, Bank of America, reporting Wednesday pre-market. If you're long in commons and a little scared on Bank of America's earnings, take some puts, or just be up to watch the earnings so you can sell your shares if you get stopped out early that morning. After hours on Wednesday, there's a couple that interest me. Yum Brands, YUM. They own KFC and Taco Bell. Also, eBay. Had this on our watch list a couple weeks ago when it broke out of the downtrend. I didn't take it. I'm kind of glad I didn't take it because it hasn't moved much, but maybe wish I would have taken it on Thursday. Anyway, eBay, it's been beat down so much. Earnings could be pretty good, and I'm going to tell you personally, if I was going to make an earnings trade this week, it would probably be on eBay simply because it's been beat down so much. But again, earnings trades are like lottery trades. You got to trade them smaller. Also, after hours, one we just talked about in last week's lesson or discussion, DRL. Had a big pop, came down on low volume. It's kind of settling right at the swing point. Wednesday after hours, DRL is going to report their earnings. And also another favorite low floater, big mover, NQ. Sitting right down still around that Fibonacci target. We had NQ on the watch list last week. It's still held up in those levels, and they're going to have earnings Wednesday after hours. Now, if you're looking at making a trade for Thursday's pre-market earnings, you'll want to do those Wednesday, and we're going to start out with Philip Morris, PM. Philip Morris is going to report Thursday pre-market. And, Philip Morris, I think it's at a point that if they do well enough on the earnings, you might find a swing entry there. I don't think it's going to be very volatile during the day for any type of crazy trade, but you might find a long entry based on how they do. Also, pre-market CY, it's another semiconductor manufacturing stock. Like with Broadcom and INTC, had some nice runs here lately, but going to report earnings Thursday pre-market. We got another financial, M&T Bank, which is ticker MTB, reporting pre-market. And, with some other financials, this one's been kind of beat down. This is one that might not be an awful idea. If the banks early in the week do well, place your earnings wager on M&T Bank. One that I'm particularly interested in, AAL, airline stock. I think if it hurts and does poorly, then the sector could do poorly, and I'm long in DAL right now, so I don't want to see that. I have a personal hobby and interest and degree in biomedical equipment manufacturing and engineering, and therefore Baxter's pre-market earnings interest me a lot on Thursday the 17th. Another financial, Morgan Stanley, going to report Thursday pre-market. All these financial stocks, the charts pretty much look the same, but lots of big financials reporting this week. And finally, Mattel, the toy manufacturer, going to report Thursday pre-market. Thursday in the after hours, well, I've got a long in AMD, so I'm going to want to have some concern over that. If the other chip manufacturers, if we see, CY do poorly and INTC do poorly, then guess what? I might take some puts on AMD, and really what that would do with my long is just forfeit an earnings move. The other thing I might do is, because it's after hours earnings, just watch it and sell my shares if I need to, so that I don't have to forfeit a move there. I can just get out of my shares in the after hours. After hours Thursday as well, Google, and that typically means Google could have some volatility Thursday, but I would say especially Friday. Friday might be a cheap Google day because of Friday expiration. The premiums are awful. I wouldn't touch Google options into the earnings. The premiums suck. You're going to need too big of a move to really make it worthwhile. But Friday, when the market's open, it'll be coming off of Google earnings, could create some volatility there. I watch very few insurance stocks, but one that we've had on the watch list on and off of it quite a few times, UNH, going to have Thursday after hours earnings, and Big Blue, IBM. What I'm interested in with Big Blue is what's going on with Lenovo buying out their server business, and how many more quarters can we miss earnings before something special happens? And that's what I'm interested to see with Big Blue. Now, there are other stocks reporting earnings this week. These are the ones from my watch list, and these are the ones that I'll be watching. And as far as my watch list for this week, I personally am going to be the first one to say that I think it's very important to see how the financial sector does. And I like that this week's also accompanied not with just the financials, but some bigger names in technology like Yahoo, like Intel, like IBM, like eBay, a big name in food service like Yum Brands, a big name in consumer discretionary like Johnson & Johnson, a big name in logistics like CSX, a big name in the airlines like American Airlines, big names in technology, again, Google, even AMD is actually a fairly big name. And I think this week could give us an idea on swing trades. So for a swing trade video watch list, you're not going to see it because, I could get and put this big list of here's what I would buy if earnings are good. But it's actually going to be most of the stuff that's on this earnings video. And I could say here's what I would short if earnings are bad, but it's probably going to be most of the stuff that you're already seeing on this video. Let's let the earnings happen, get an idea for market direction. Take some time tonight, watch my market overview. I hope and pray I did a real long market overview video. I hope and pray that you watch that one. But for those that aren't as serious about this as I am, I put together a shortened version. I hope you at least watch the shortened version, but I think you're going to find a lot of value in the longer video, and that's why I want to keep this one short. That's my earnings list for the upcoming week. This is Coach Mike. Going to see you in the chat room tomorrow. Look forward to working with everybody this week.